Hey everyone, and welcome back to the ATD Movie Channel on YouTube. I'm Tony, and today I'll be reviewing the Justice League, the latest film directed by Zack Snyder and starring everyone's favorite DC comic book superheroes. Let's jump right into it. By now, most of you know that DC and Warner Brothers Studios didn't exactly follow the same recipe for success that Marvel has. Marvel spent the time developing their individual characters with standalone films before finally bringing them together in the Avengers. Let me start by telling you what I liked about Justice League. I'll dive deeper into the tone of the film a little bit later, but what I do want to compliment the filmmakers on is just how much lighter the tone of the movie is, compared to Batman vs. Superman anyway. There's actually jokes in this movie, imagine that, human emotion. And while there is some brooding going on, it's not front and center like the previous DC films. I also really like seeing some of the characters I've grown up with finally brought to the big screen. Ben Affleck is proving to be a great Batman, and a great Bruce Wayne at that. Gal Gadot has perhaps the best role in the movie, whether she's in the action sequences or just her character's development in general. And I love what they did for Aquaman here. He's a total badass, and Jason Momoa plays him perfectly. Ezra Miller's performance as the Flash is outstanding and perhaps the most standout of all the different actors in the movie. I've never really been too crazy about the character until now. I honestly can't wait to see what they're going to do with him in future film. And lastly, Ray Fisher's Cyborg is an interesting addition to the team, despite not having much to do. And while I'm on the topic of these iconic characters, I do want to compliment the filmmakers on the action in the movie. Similar to other superhero team-up movies, the movie finds new and innovative ways to match up the characters in action. And while a lot of the great action sequences are actually in the trailers, there's still a lot that weren't. One of my favorite aspects of the film is the score by Danny Elfman. Elfman created a terrific score fit for the Justice League, and he also found ways to incorporate portions of Man of Steel and even the 1989 Batman score that he wrote into this movie. And this was such an unexpected treat when I was watching it. While there are a few things the movie does well, there are so many things it doesn't do very well. And as much as I hate to admit it, the movie is a mess. All the fuss and all the gossip about the behind-the-scenes issues during development are so painfully obvious when you're watching the movie. I promise you, I'll get into more details, but I'm here to tell you that this looked like an unfinished draft of a final film. And let's start with the story, because that's what's always really important to me. The story is incoherent and disjointed. The first two acts play out like really short skits that are supposed to somehow be related. And the villain is not very well done. I mean, he's interesting, and I honestly think there was something really great here that just wasn't fully realized. We know from the trailers that Bruce Wayne goes around the world to recruit the Justice League members, but the way it's sewn together is awful. The movie just jumps around from scene to scene with no explanation or narrative whatsoever. And there's been rumors that WB demanded the final cut of the film be less than 2 hours, and the editing of the movie just totally proves that rumor. There's some really odd, misplaced cuts that took me completely out of the film. And if you haven't seen the movie yet, pay close attention to the first time Bruce Wayne and Arthur Curry meet. It's as if Joss Whedon was brought in simply to adjust the tone and the length of the movie, and he did so by any means necessary. Now, obviously I'm making an assumption there, but that's what it feels like when you're watching it. And due to the shorter runtime, so many of the supporting characters are totally wasted in the film. There's some really well-known characters from the DC universe that are only in the movie for a few seconds, and major characters like Lois Lane are so out of place you wonder why they were written into the story to begin with. And I mentioned the tone of the film earlier. Let me tell you something, it's all over the place. The movie fails miserably at diving deep into such themes as mortality and belonging. And there's a laughable subplot involving Bruce Wayne and Diana that not only falls flat, but actually garnered some laughs during my screening. And without spoiling anything, it deals with Diana being a leader and not just a follower. At its core, I think that's an interesting concept, but the movie was just so bad at the execution. And while I thought some of the action was fun and unique, the CGI in this movie was pretty bad at certain times. Not always, but at certain times. And I'm not sure if the CGI I'm referring to was from Joss Whedon's time on the film or when Zack Snyder was still a part of the production. But either way, there's various scenes where the poor special effects completely take you out of the film. And the saddest part about all this, guys, is that I really wanted this movie to work. And it didn't. It completely missed the mark for me. I was hoping that Wonder Woman was going to be the jumping off for a new start for WB and the DC films. And remember, I'm a fan of these characters. I wanted the movie to be good. I didn't want to leave so disappointed because these characters bring back a lot of my childhood. But sadly, I left the theater really disappointed. The story and the overall execution of the film leaves so much to be desired. The last bit of hope I have is that maybe there's a 3-hour version of the movie on Blu-ray and DVD that'll piece together some of this mess. So, have you seen the film? And were you able to objectively see its flaws? Or was your childhood fondness of the characters just enough to overlook its missteps? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. It helps me out a lot. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel where you can find other movie reviews as well. This has been the review for the Justice League. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll talk to you real soon.